Information literacy. This presentation has been prepared by Allison, Michelle, and Lauren. Our thesis statement: how does the use of iPads within the primary grades support educational development of children with autism? Our top 10 keyword search. So when we did our word search, we actually yielded 29 different results. What we decided to do was take the top 10. You could see that the results vary from 454 to 7,168. These are the top 10. Evaluating our sources. When our group did our research, we found that depending on the spelling of the word, you would yield a different result. We also found that some of the information was quite repetitive. That seemed to be a challenge for us as we were trying to be as specific as possible. We also found that using fewer words did not necessarily provide a narrow search. We really needed to be more specific in adding certain words onto an existing word. For example, instead of autism, looking for autism spectrum disorder, that yielded a more specific result for us. We also found that information tend to be linked together. So if we were looking for iPad, if we were looking for autism, or we were looking for education, we found that we got quite a few articles and a lot of that information seemed to be linked. Variation in keyword search. So as I spoke to earlier, we found that depending on how you use the word, we would get a different result. So for example, benefits of iPads with children with autism yielded 766 results. When we narrowed it down and made it more specific and tried to go with autism spectrum disorder, you'll see that the results ended up in the 4,000s. This tells us that there's more articles geared towards the word autism than autism spectrum disorder. The same stands true when we looked for autism versus ASD. You'll see that the number is quite larger for autism versus the abbreviation. Finally, looking at iPad education autism spectrum versus iPad education autism. Once we added the word spectrum, it was more specific and we got a smaller or a more narrow result. Evaluating the location and process. So some of the things that we as a group could do differently is expand our search. For example, not just rely on the University of Ontario's library, but perhaps look in encyclopedias, outside libraries, and even using a thesaurus to help us narrow down or get different variations of the word. We also found that delegating by word would have really helped our search. For example, if each of us took autism, one could have done a search using autism, the other could have done a search using autism spectrum disorder, and the other member could have done the search using ASD. This way, we would not have an overlapping when we are searching for our resources. Another big thing that we thought would be very helpful for our group in finding more information is really just think outside of the box. Perhaps instead of using iPad, maybe use technology, maybe use computers. Not staying with the keywords within our thesis statement, but maybe changing them up a little bit and kind of thinking a little bit more on a broad spectrum. This is our presentation. We hope you really enjoyed it. All of the images that we use, we got from Pixabay. Thank you.